Let's focus on teams and teamwork. And we're going to start off with some definitions. First, what's the difference between a team, for instance, and a group? So team is a group of individuals working cooperatively together for a common goal. Whereas a group of people, this might not necessarily be a team. So group members are individuals with individual goals, motivations, desire. A team has a shared vision, team members willing to help each other, and a vision of common shared goals. Just happens. It's amazing when you get in one of these teams of what the difference it can make from one course to another, as I'm sure you've experienced. Factors could be the personalities of the people, could be the social and the social interaction, could be some cultural factors as well. Sometimes it seems to be a matter of factors that are difficult to quantify or even to specify. So some of the factors that contribute: certainly appropriate number of people. If you're all great friends and you don't have enough people, it's still not going to be a good team effort. You also want to make sure that you have the correct skill mix. And I'm sure there's people in this course, groups, that I've noticed do not have a good skill mix, good tools, adequate training. You're having respect for not only each other, but also for your immediate management and above them. So some more things: you're willing to work together, willing to be team members in a group. You have good communication skills, good channels of communication, and frankly, it's a good environment. You like coming into work. In fact, you think work is fun. What a great way to have work. Now, respect, hard to earn, easy to lose. And so to earn the respect of others, you've got to demonstrate that you're competent in your in whatever your designated job is, that you have the ability, that you're going to you have excellent integrity. I had a gentleman from Venrock in last week, actually this week, and Venrock is the venture capital company that represents the Rockefellers. 100 years ago, probably one of the most the richest families in the U.S. And his comment to me and to the class was the number one thing that the venture capital community is looking for is high integrity. So when you say that you'll get something done, you'll get it done. And they only have so many meetings with you, and they need to be able to trust your word. And the final thing is you have concern for the welfare of others. You're not just going to go work on this together. Trust, like respect, again, it's earned over time. Honesty, candor, being sincere, and again, when you say you're going to do something, you get it done. So some other techniques that can contribute to helping out the team work together is maybe you have an off-site planning meeting. And when you do this, you make sure you have time for people to socialize. Maybe you send a couple people off you'd like to get to know, have them work together to some off-site training courses. Certainly the standard pizza, probably the highest eaten food in Silicon Valley. And my suggestion is when you're celebrating milestones, do it right away. Don't wait. Go out and enjoy. And this is why people do things like have birthdays, have these events that, some people go, why are we wasting time with this? It's to improve communication. I remember a time when I had staff on 5 continents, and I would bring them in 3 times of the year. So out of the 4 quarters, we didn't do it in the summer, but we did it the other 3 quarters. And when I used to be one of the ones that flew in, and then I ended up being the person in Sunnyvale who everyone else flew into and worked for me ultimately. So it was kind of fun. And as a team building exercise, we were having a long project to work. And at noon I said, okay, I want everybody to head out the front door. We headed out the front door, and I had a couple of stretch limousines waiting. And off we went to Napa Valley. Everything worked so successfully. I'll tell you, I could see the productivity improvement in the coming months because of that. I did get busted though, because someone else, a director, walked out at the time I was a manager, and reported on me. What is this guy doing with having stretch limousines for an internal staff only thing? But it was well worth the abuse, and I didn't get wrapped on my knuckles by any of my managers, so I got away with it. These are the sort of things that we do. I remember going to 100% Club, which is the club they give, or the 101 Club, depending on who you are, where you've hit 100, 101% of your goals. And they'll take you to fancy places for a few days, depending on the level you're at, without your significant other or with your significant other. And I remember again in one other one, we had a meeting. They broke us into different countries because all the countries, well, that the company employed were being represented. And the Canadian folk, when it came to everybody splitting off into different groups to actually do some analysis, we took off and we did some sightseeing. They booked a bus for us and off we went. It was fabulous, and we watched as the other countries were taking this all seriously. Certainly the European ones were. So it was kind of fun for us to just take off again. I think it was more productive for our teamwork efforts. So don't poo-poo these things. I know some of you are very rigid in your approach, and I'd like you to open up your minds of how you can improve. So I don't like to be negative, and I thought even about deleting this slide, but it's from a text that your text likes quoting from, and so I'll give it as a way for you to notice and maybe do some corrective action. When you have defensive management, when you have so much bureaucracy, it's mind-numbing. So usually I get students, going through either undergrad or directly into grad school that think we're pretty bureaucratic here, and I agree. We're a 150-year-old institution. There is certainly a level of bureaucracy beyond what I'd like to see. However, they worked, one of them in particular, I remember, did some work for NASA, and at one point NASA needed something done, and so they said, hey, we'll hire you we want you to cut some wires. And all they had to do was cut wires a certain length. And he said he couldn't believe the amount of paperwork they had to fill out to say, okay, I've got the right width of the wire, I've cut it to the right length. Although he said after that, he said, never complain about San Jose State. So, when you think of NASA, you think of, the O-ring fiasco and how important it is to have double checks and triple checks. I've certainly suffered from physical separation of team members in the same community across the street, from Sunnyvale to San Jose, as well as the larger, across the country, across the world. My first job, I watched them bid, and they put all the bid together, and they'd say, you know what, we're not going to win. Let's say it was $1 million. We're not going to win at that. We'll just drop it to $850,000, and everyone can work harder to make it happen. And that's what they did, time after time after time. So excessive overtime, maybe not having sufficient time to produce what you really need to get done. There's click control. And on click control, what they mean is you get a team together and they work together great, and a weak manager gets nervous that this clique of people will overturn him and become more powerful. And so by click control, what they do is they split up the team on a regular basis so no one has control. And I've had a chairman of the board. He was chairman of the board and CEO, and he split up two senior vice presidents. One was in charge of engineering and one was in charge of the rest of the business. It was a consulting firm, and I was one of the senior vice presidents. And he went to me and he said, if you do this and this and this and this and you go all out, I'm going to make you CEO. And unbeknownst to me, he went to the other senior vice president. You can guess the end of that story. And so over a period of the coming months, it dawned on me, I'd never expected this behavior. I figured it out. I went to the guy, approached him, They had one of us measured on profit, the other on revenue. There was always internal fighting, and we got them to turn around so we both be measured on the same things. We became firm friends, and the chairman, I had no idea why he had so much contention in his life, and he liked it, but he couldn't split us up again after that. And boy, he was good at trying to take each one of us out individually, yelling, screaming. I've never seen such an unprofessional manager. And usually in startups and that, they're at the highest level they've ever been. They haven't had some of the experience. The Fortune 500s have had to learn. If they don't produce as a manager, then other people look over their shoulder and put them in line. When you're on your own, having your own business, there's no checks and balances. So anyway, a little bit more about team-aside. So if you have defensive management, trust your team members until they prove other. And then as you find one person that might be causing the most issues, you might have to, and I certainly have, fire them. It's amazing when you have 3 or 4 that are causing trouble. You take the one who's just a little bit louder and you blow them away. The others, get in line. See if you can figure out how to improve the procedures so that the paperwork goes down. Or maybe you need to justify, here's why it's beneficial, and I use this for my advanced registration process for Frosh. Well, they go, why are you putting a hold on my accountant? I explain examples of people who have literally, there was a lady last week, she got a job from Lockheed. I taught her last course in business. They, after she started the job, bureaucratic company that they went into, it was kind of fun watching the process. But, goodness knows we can't throw stones at San Jose State. They did go and check. They found out she didn't have her degree. She'd walked. She was just waiting for it to come in the mail. Couldn't figure out why it hadn't shown up, but figured it was just slow. And she'd missed an accounting course and a finance course. So now she's worried about Lockheed actually firing her because she lied on her application, and she's back in school. So that's why I saw her in the last week. So, those are the sort of things that I justify and say, hey, we can't afford to do that in engineering. It's so hard. We want to make sure you get your degree, you know everything, you don't take the wrong direction, and that's why we put a hold on your account. And that truly is why. Sometimes unrealistic deadlines, and you've got to work on them. See if you can get common workplaces. Steve Jobs did that when he was running Pixar, is he would put together, he actually built an environment up there in the East Bay where there was a common area where everybody went to eat. He even moved all the washrooms into a central facility until some of the pregnant ladies started complaining they were going to sue the company because it was so far for them to walk. But the whole idea was to create opportunities for people to bump into each other from all walks of the company. I've certainly suffered from fragmentation of time working as a consultant on 7 assignments in 1 week. I spent more time switching, I think, between projects than being productive. They do studies and say that once you're interrupted, it takes about 15 minutes to get back to your task at hand. And if you think of your phone ringing every 10 minutes, as certainly mine has done in various jobs, you end up that all you're doing is firefighting. And I had a boss, that same crazy boss I was talking about earlier, that said, go in your office, shut your door, turn off your phone, work for an hour on a project, and then come out. And I never listened to him, so I thought my job was answering my staff's requests during the day. However, early in the morning, late at night when no one was there, that's where I got my productive time. Clique control, allow them to work together. If they're working well together, hallelujah. Let them get productive. Quality reduction, when we're doing compression of a schedule, as we tried in PERT, make sure you rescope the requirements. Make sure you don't just sneak one in. Say, oh, you can just fit it in. And I think what's happened in industry and in Silicon Valley in particular, from my era, that they wanted you to work all the time you could because it was all billable hours when I was a consultant, is now they're saying nope, they want to avoid it. They want you to get your rest. They want you to be productive at work. So we'll end with that slide and take a look at the next one, which I have as an insert to expand a little bit more about what teams and groups are beyond what the author covered.